Hello, hello, hello. I am your host OCL, and welcome back to One Century Later. Today we'll be taking a look at all events from March 21st to March 27th, 1926. As with last week, all of my sources are in the description down below. Sunday, March 21st, 1926. Nothing of historical precedent happened on this day. Monday, March 22nd, 1926. The Paes de Carvalho, a Brazilian passenger ship, caught fire while traveling along the Amazon River near Caori, Brazil. Unfortunately, 104 of the 189 passengers on the ship died. Tuesday, March 23rd, 1926. Sir Harcourt Butler, the governor of British Burma, announced that slavery had ended in Burma following negotiations between J.T.O. Barnard, the British Deputy Commissioner of the Burma Frontier Service, and chiefs of the Naga people. 3,487 slaves in the Hukawang Valley region of Burma were released, although it was believed that slavery still existed in the most remote parts of Burma, which would take time to remove completely. Also on this day, the first 30 volumes of the Great Soviet Encyclopedia was published. In total, 65 volumes were published in the first edition of the encyclopedia from 1926 to 1947. Also on this day, an accident occurred in the United States Army base in San Juan, Puerto Rico, when a rifle was accidentally discharged while being cleaned and struck 6 soldiers. The bullet struck Private E. Rodriguez in the abdomen, Private J. Delgado in the right knee, before deflecting off of a rifle to strike Private M. Emiliano in the neck, before continuing on its path to strike Captain John T. Dibrell, Lieutenant John Shaw, and finally ending lodged in the hip of Private A. Ro. Private Rodriguez was the only serious injury when the bullet hit his abdomen, and all 6 men survived. And lastly on this day, the Cushman Dam No. 1 was activated in Manson County, Washington, to supply power to the city of Tacoma. The dam could produce a peak of 43.2 megawatts of energy between 2 generators. The actual dedication ceremony did not take place until May 24th, when U.S. President Calvin Coolidge turned on the power supply with a push of a button in the White House. In reality, the button push did nothing, and the dam had already been producing power since this day. By 1927, the power demand from Tacoma exceeded the power output of the dam, and a second dam was designed and opened in 1930. Wednesday, March 24th, 1926. The trial for the murder of Giacomo Matteotti in 1924 came to a close. During the trial, Emergo Dumini gave testimony that in 1923 he found Matteotti plotting with French socialists to kill fascist Niccolo Bonservisi. Following Bonservisi's murder, Dumini kidnapped Matteotti with the intent to question him about his part in the murder of Bonservisi. Matteotti began vomiting blood, and 5 minutes later he was dead. Dumini believed that fright must have caused an acute reaction in Matteotti's tuberculosis, leading to his death. 2 of the accused, Giuseppe Viola and Augusto Malacria, were acquitted, while Amerigo Domini, Albino Volpi, and Amaletto Polveromo were sentenced to 5 years, 11 months, and 20 days for unintentional murder. However, due to an amnesty law passed the previous year for political murders from unforeseen circumstances, the sentences were reduced by 4 years, down to 23 months and 20 days. Taking into account the 21 months already served since the murder, the 3 fascists were required to spend an additional 75 days in prison. The question of Mussolini's involvement in the murder was never brought up during the trial. Thursday, March 25th, 1926. A military guard was posted to protect the United States Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at the Arlington National Cemetery for the first time. The tomb hadn't been completely unguarded since its creation in 1921. Civilian guard began on November 17, 1925. Originally, guards were only present from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. when the Arlington National Cemetery closed. Permanent tomb guards were not introduced until July 2, 1937. Friday, March 26, 1926. Andreas Cornelius Dirk de Graaf was appointed as the Governor-General of the Dutch East Indies. He would serve in this position until September 1931. Also on this day, the governments of the Kingdom of Romania and the Second Polish Republic signed a treaty of alliance in the event of an attack on either nation from any third nation. The treaty was ratified in Warsaw in February 27 and registered with the League of Nations in March of the same year. Also on this day, the opera Die Zirkusprinzessin, or The Circus Prince, by Emmerich Kallmann, was performed for the first time. The performance, located in Vienna at the Theater an der Wien, was interrupted during one of Hubert Marischka's songs when a woman in the audience yelled that the theater was on fire. Marischka diffused the situation by claiming the alarm was part of the opera before receiving permission from one of the audience members, Austria's President Michael Hainisch, to continue the opera. Also on this day, former Chancellor of Germany Konstantin Fehrenbach passed away. Fehrenbach served as the Chancellor from 1920 until 1921 and worked to improve the unemployment benefits of Germans as well as the fulfillment of terms of the Treaty of Versailles. Fehrenbach resigned as Chancellor in May 1921 after failing to win concessions from the Allies for Germany's war reparations. And lastly, on this day, Jorge Benedet, a French Egyptologist and the director of Egyptian antiquities at the Louvre, passed away at the age of 70. Benedet became the sixth person to die after studying the tomb of King Tutankhamun following the deaths of Lord Carnarvon, George Gold, Wolf Joel, Sir Archibald Douglas Reid, and Paul Casanova, adding to the superstition behind the curse of King Tutankhamun, which anyone present in the tomb would experience an untimely death. Saturday, March 27th, 1926. An agreement was reached between the American School of Classical Studies at Athens and the Greek government to excavate the ancient Agora of Athens. The project would not begin until 1931, but was speculated that it would take thousands of workers decades to complete and would be the then largest archaeological excavation in history. And lastly, George Shima, born Ushijima Kinji, passed away at the age of 61 following a stroke on the same day he was awarded the fourth rank Order of the Rising Sun. Shima immigrated to California in 1889 from Japan as a domestic servant before eventually growing potatoes. By 1920, he had become a millionaire, controlling roughly 85% of the potato crop in the state of California, giving him the nickname of the Potato King. And that is all. See you next week for all events from Sunday, March 28th, 1926 to Saturday, April 3rd, 1926. Thank you for watching, and see you next week.